In 2015, there was a huge debacle about men floundering in academia and social life and failing to launch, especially in jobs and interpersonal relationships. That year saw the popularization of books like Save the Males, The Decline of Men, and The Myth of Male Power, with many commentators, notably on Fox News, having lengthy discussions of the rocky future men would face if the current trends continue. A common theme in those discussions and debates among right-wing circles was the push for men to man up, while in feminist circles it was more expressed as becoming a real man. For the tradcons, they thought men should follow along the footsteps of their fathers and grandfathers, from educational attainment, employment, home ownership, and eventually marriage, and from the standpoint of the feminists, they urged men to decry their fathers' and grandfathers' socialization and education as patriarchal, sexist and regressive, and to reinvent a concept of manhood that is ancillary to feminism and its ideals. However, that was in vain, since those platitudes the right and the feminists regurgitate were ineffective at sparking profound change, as the issues afflicting men weren't a personal failure of men. It was systemic. Since the 60s, when affirmative action was instituted, our government have made a concerted effort to equalize women's outcome to that of men. Affirmative action functions as a form of reparations for the supposed evils that have befallen women at the hands of men, and it's been just expanding since the 60s. For the years that follow, women would receive more preferential treatments. On top of that, favoritism towards women-led companies and companies that hire mostly women wasn't considered a crime. It's puzzling after many years to still face people who lay the full blame on men for the wreck feminism has brought about. For example, Porter Jefferson said MGTOW are pathetic weasels. Tucker Carlson would infinitely reprimand men and push them to accept responsibility for which they have no authority. And many others to varying degrees have either attacked men or urged them to play the rigged game anyway. In this video, I will try to answer the preponderance of these responses from other men. Reason number 1. It's an evolutionary adaptation. Men are inherently gynocentric. Males' raison d'etre from a biological standpoint is to improve the fitness of the species through male-on-male competition. Men are an offshoot of the female. For so long, the species reproduced through replication, and then later on, through asexual reproduction. These two processes are slow in accelerating the evolution of the species. That's where male-on-male competition comes into the picture. If males compete to secure mating rights, then only the fittest would be able to pass on their genes and by extension improve the fitness of the species. That's why sexual differentiation kicked off in our species. The expression of male-on-male competition is not strictly physical. It also includes psychological warfare like intimidation and manipulation. One of the tangible side effects of male-on-male competition is the delayed development of younger males in comparison to younger females, since in earlier times the men that grow up faster and reached adulthood with all that testosterone coursing their veins often died sooner as they challenged the mating rights of other males. And this is where we get to why men put other men down. It's an ingrained evolutionary propensity to be hostile to other men and protect females, which at times is also used as mating strategy, competition to increase the fitness of the species. These moronic nether apes are beholden to an ancient Homo erectus part of their brain, which speaks volumes to the futility of trying to change their minds. Just leave them be. Second reason, shame of worshipping the golden VG. The men who put us down are cognizant of the aim of their actions. They know they are exalting women at the expense of their brothers and friends to gain the validation of women. There's a sense of shame linked to being so poon-whipped to the extent you sabotage and hurt other innocent men to get the validation from females. That's why they have to bill it as righteous, just like any shitty person in existence doing bad things. They aggrandize the value of women and undermine the value of men. Of course there's nothing to aggrandize, as men have contributed vastly more than any female. Protection and provisioning for women far surpasses any childcare women provide. It simply is not commensurate. That's why they feel the need to brainwash you into essentializing an inherent mystical, merciful, blissful quality in women, and essentializing an inherent lack, a void, a sense of incompleteness, a deformity in men to justify their poon worship feast. The qualities they ascribe to women to exalt them are rather silly. For example, they aggrandize women for their ability to get pregnant and give birth, as if men don't have anything to do with pregnancy, and as if throughout the ages men just sat around doing nothing for the months that it took the woman to give birth. Or, for their compassion, as if men running into smoldering buildings to save trapped inhabitants are acting out of hate. I want you to take notice that the poon-worshipping apologia is fixated on what women provide to others and not to the one providing excuses. This is a facade to mask the shame of seeking women's validation, and that's from the individual psychological perspective. Now we move on to reason 3. Our society is matriarchal gynocracy. The society we live in is gynocentric, and at the turn of century it became a matriarchy. Societies were always structured around the optimal comfort of women for them to be able to conceive of kids and carry them to term in a state where the women are severely impeded for the length of 9 months. The provisioning and protection that goes into that 9 months is entirely afforded by men. Patriarchy is literally a system of the rule of fathers. Fathers assume control and authority over the family as the mothers are in a vulnerable state. That's the material basis of patriarchal systems. At large, society aided married men more than single men, because in the harsh conditions of nature 2 million years ago, the ability to replenish the tribe of men was of utmost importance. Due to those conditions, women and men had to succumb to the reality of the situation and procreate fast enough to uphold their territory and protect their ranks. Even as societies became agrarian, the need for more working hands was still important, and men still assumed authority over women and family. However, in the industrial age, as we moved into factories with the advent of mechanization, which allowed the mass production of goods, and the advancement of modern medicine causing a marked reduction in infant mortality, the chain of men provisioning and protecting women so they can conceive of more kids began breaking down. By 18th century, America was marked by rampant gynocracy. Those were the days of the construction of matriarchy. Gynocentrism is still here. Patriarchy is gone, and in its place matriarchy lodged in. We no longer live in the rule of fathers. We live now in the rule of mothers. Mothers have all authority in the household over men and over children. Since it's a system of control of women, they wouldn't simply forfeit all power and authority and hand it over to men. Dissent is not tolerated and is considered a crime. Seeking to empower men is considered an act of terrorism to the matriarchal order. To sustain the matriarchal order, they spread propaganda and punish dissenters to force men to comply. It's so odd to see men do this. However, it's not so odd when you realize they are either paid millions or brainwashed into thinking serving women is their highest calling. That's all I got to say on this subject for now.